In the ancient land of Canaan, a place rich with history and divine encounters, there lived a couple whose names would resonate across the centuries, becoming emblematic of faith and legacy. Isaac, the cherished son of the great patriarch Abraham, and his beloved wife Rebekah longed deeply for a child to carry on their lineage and fulfill God's promises. As the years turned into decades, their yearning for an heir grew more intense, and though the hope seemed to fade with time, their faith and determination remained steadfast. With unwavering faith, Isaac earnestly prayed to the Lord, pouring out his heart and pleading for the divine intervention that only God could provide. And then, in a moment that showcased the power of faith and divine promise, the seemingly impossible came to pass. Rebekah conceived, and though her initial joy was profound, it was soon overshadowed by an unsettling concern. Within her, she sensed a peculiar and intense movement, as though an unseen struggle was taking place between forces she could not comprehend. Overwhelmed by confusion and filled with unease, Rebekah turned to the Lord, seeking his wisdom and guidance in her time of need. In response to her heartfelt inquiry, the Lord provided her with a profound and startling revelation, one that would shape the course of history. Two nations are in your womb. Two peoples shall come from within you and will be divided. One shall grow stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. These words, laden with mystery and profound significance, foretold the destiny not only of Rebekah's immediate family, but of generations and nations yet to come. At last, the long-awaited day of childbirth came, filled with anticipation and the fulfillment of divine prophecy. A sense of expectancy and tension filled the atmosphere, as those around Rebekah awaited the outcome of her labor with eager hearts. To the astonishment of all present, Rebekah brought forth not one child, but twin boys, as foretold by the Lord. The firstborn emerged with a striking appearance, his skin tinged red and his body covered in thick hair, resembling a small cloak of fur. They gave him the name Esau, meaning hairy, a reflection of his distinctive and unusual appearance. Not long after, the second child arrived, his tiny hand gripping tightly onto his brother's heel, as if in pursuit. He was named Jacob, signifying he who grasps the heel, or supplanter, a name that would foreshadow his future actions and destiny. From the moment of their birth, it became evident that these two siblings were destined to embody stark contrasts, as different in nature as night is from day. Esau, as the elder of the twins, matured into a formidable and talented hunter, a man deeply connected to the rugged outdoors. His character was marked by strength, vitality, and impulsive energy, driving him to constantly seek thrilling adventures in the wilderness. With his body covered in coarse hair, Esau possessed a striking, untamed appearance that set him apart from others. Jacob, in contrast, was gentle and contemplative, favoring the serene and sheltered life within the family tents. He exhibited a sharp intellect and a reflective nature, with an innate talent for strategy and the intricacies of trade. While Esau roamed the forests hunting wild game, Jacob remained close to home, immersing himself in the cultural traditions of his ancestors and honing his skills in commerce. The differences between Esau and Jacob extended far beyond their temperaments and pursuits, touching every facet of their lives. Another significant disparity lay in the differing affections of their parents, a factor that would profoundly shape their destinies. Isaac, captivated by Esau's vigor, courage, and prowess, seemed to hold a special fondness for his firstborn son. The earthy aroma that clung to Esau after his hunts and the savory flavor of the dishes he prepared delighted Isaac, endearing him even further to his elder son. Rebekah, by contrast, cherished Jacob for his gentle disposition and his unwavering presence within the household, which resonated with her own values and sensibilities. Centuries later, a prophet by the name of Malachi would deliver a profound and thought-provoking message concerning these two brothers. "I love Jacob, but I hated Esau." At first glance, these words appear harsh, yet they signify not personal animosity, but a divine selection aligned with God's overarching plan for humankind. This declaration went beyond the brothers' individual traits, highlighting their distinct roles in the unfolding history of nations. As the eldest son, Esau held considerable rights and responsibilities, privileges deeply embedded in the customs and traditions of that era. This position entitled him to a double portion of his father's estate, as well as the coveted patriarchal blessing, a sacred legacy carrying profound spiritual and generational significance. Such a blessing encompassed divine assurances, including the monumental promise given to Abraham that through his lineage, all nations of the earth would find blessing and favor. Yet destiny, as it often does, held unforeseen and dramatic twists for these two brothers. The prophecy revealed to Rebekah before the twins' birth, that the older would serve the younger, began to materialize in ways that neither she nor anyone else could have anticipated. Esau's decisions, driven by impulsiveness and a seeming disregard for the profound spiritual significance of his birthright, would set in motion events of far-reaching consequences. Over time, the distinctions between Esau and Jacob became even more pronounced, shaping their paths and defining their roles in ways that could not be ignored. Esau emerged as a fearless and intrepid hunter, a man unafraid to face the perils of the wilderness with remarkable courage and exceptional skill. His rugged, hairy appearance was widely recognized, and his strength and physical prowess earned him the admiration of many. A man of bold action, Esau embraced the present moment, showing little concern for long-term matters or the weightier spiritual aspects of life. Jacob, on the other hand, cultivated a deep sense of wisdom and a sharp, calculating mind. He attentively studied the world and people around him, gaining insight into the complexities of relationships and mastering the art of commerce. His ever-active mind thrived on planning and foresight, always strategizing for the opportunities and challenges ahead. While he lacked Esau's imposing physical presence, Jacob exuded an inner resilience and determination that would empower him to overcome life's adversities and thrive. The intricate dynamics within the family were fraught with tension and subtle divisions. Isaac, whose advancing age had left him frail and nearly blind, found solace in Esau's strong, vibrant energy and the savory dishes he skillfully prepared from his hunts. To Isaac, Esau symbolized the enduring strength of their lineage, a figure robust enough to face the harsh realities of a challenging and often unforgiving world. Rebekah, however, perceived in Jacob the essential qualities needed for leadership among God's chosen people, recognizing a depth of character and insight in him. She discerned in Jacob a spiritual acumen and intellectual capability that, in her view, marked him as the rightful heir to Abraham's sacred legacy. This quiet but unmistakable favoritism on the part of their parents was not lost on Esau and Jacob, adding a layer of complexity to their relationship. Secure in his position as the firstborn and assured of his father's affection, Esau lived with a carefree attitude, often disregarding the long-term consequences of his choices. Jacob, in contrast, grew up acutely aware of his role as the younger son, fostering a deep determination to alter the trajectory of his destiny. The tale of Esau and Jacob serves as a profound reflection on the intricacies of familial ties, the burdens of parental expectations, and the far-reaching implications of the decisions we make. From the very moment of their birth, Esau and Jacob's stark differences set the stage for a rivalry that would not only shape their own lives, but ripple across generations, influencing the fates of entire nations. While Esau roamed the open fields of Canaan, unaware of the larger forces molding his destiny, Jacob quietly watched, planned, and prepared for the future. The foundation was laid for a pivotal and dramatic event in biblical history, a moment destined to alter the trajectory of Esau and Jacob's lives and shape the destiny of their descendants for generations to come. The blazing sun beat down upon the land of Canaan, its unyielding heat casting a shimmering haze over the dry, arid plains. Against this harsh and unforgiving backdrop, a new and pivotal chapter in the captivating saga of Esau and Jacob was beginning to unfold. What started as an ordinary day was destined to mark a significant turning point in the intertwined histories of two nations that would emerge from these brothers. Esau, ever the accomplished hunter, rose early with the first light of dawn, setting out with purpose into the wilderness. Armed with his trusty bow and a quiver brimming with arrows, he strode confidently into the rugged wilderness, seeking his next hunt. As the hours dragged on and the sun climbed higher, its heat grew oppressive, turning the air into a suffocating blanket. On this day, however, the hunt that usually brought Esau triumph seemed unusually challenging and fruitless. The game appeared to have disappeared entirely, retreating into burrows and shaded crevices to escape the merciless heat. Meanwhile, back at the family tents, Jacob went about his routine tasks, diligently attending to his responsibilities with his usual quiet focus. His ever-observant eyes frequently glanced toward the horizon, as though anticipating Esau's return from the fields. An almost palpable tension lingered in the atmosphere, hinting that the day held the promise of an extraordinary and fateful event. The slow passage of time stretched the day, and as the sun dipped toward the western horizon, the land began to cool slightly. At that moment, a weary and staggering figure came into view on the distant horizon, moving slowly toward the tents. The figure was Esau, utterly drained and visibly famished, making his way back after an arduous and unsuccessful hunt. The vigor and energy that typically defined him were gone, replaced by an appearance of fragility and exhaustion. The relentless grip of hunger and thirst had weakened him, leaving the once proud hunter struggling to stay on his feet. As he approached, the enticing aroma of food wafted through the air, intensifying the gnawing pangs of hunger in his stomach. Through his haze of exhaustion, Esau's eyes fixed on the source of the mouth-watering scent, a pot simmering over the fire, filled with a hearty lentil stew that Jacob had thoughtfully prepared. "Brother," Esau called out, his voice hoarse and strained. The words were barely audible, rasped out through a throat parched from the unrelenting heat. "Please give me some of that red stew. I'm starving, about to faint." His request, delivered between gasps for breath, laid bare the utter desperation of a man pushed to the brink of his endurance. Jacob, having noticed his brother's weary approach from a distance, remained silent for a moment, considering the situation. His calculating gaze carefully studied Esau, assessing his vulnerability and the opportunity at hand. The air between them was filled only with the soft bubbling of the stew and the sound of Esau's labored breaths. At last, Jacob broke the silence, speaking deliberately and with measured words. "Of course, my brother, but first, sell me your birthright." The audacious nature of the request lingered in the air, adding a weighty tension to the moment. The birthright was no ordinary inheritance. It was a sacred privilege and weighty responsibility, reserved for the eldest son as a divine and cultural tradition. This sacred entitlement encompassed a double portion of the family inheritance, the mantle of leadership, and most importantly, the spiritual blessing that carried forward God's covenant with Abraham. In his weakened state, dulled by exhaustion and overwhelming hunger, Esau appeared incapable of comprehending the gravity of Jacob's request. Without much deliberation, his response was hastily and carelessly given. "Look, I'm about to die of hunger. What good is the birthright to me?" Sensing a rare and invaluable opportunity, Jacob pressed the issue further, determined not to let it slip away. "Swear to me right now." And in a fateful moment of weakness, Esau swore an oath, a decision that would resonate across generations. Thus, for the sake of a simple meal, Esau relinquished his birthright, a transaction that would alter the course of history. The agreement was irrevocably sealed, marking a pivotal shift in their destinies. Jacob promptly served Esau a portion of bread alongside the steaming lentil stew, fulfilling his end of the deal. Esau, the eldest son, ate the meal voraciously, drinking deeply to quench his thirst, momentarily relieving his hunger, but unknowingly forfeiting something far greater and irreplaceable. Once his hunger was sated and the haze of desperation lifted, Esau rose and departed without a second thought, his actions betraying a lack of awareness of the monumental loss he had just incurred. What appeared to be a simple and insignificant transaction was, in truth, a transformative moment with profound and far-reaching implications. The brief exchange that unfolded that day within the family's camp would echo throughout history, profoundly influencing the futures of nations yet to be born. Esau's impulsive decision illuminated key aspects of his character, shedding light on his priorities and approach to life. He was a man guided by the demands of the present, often prioritizing his immediate needs and desires over long-term considerations. Overwhelmed by physical exhaustion and hunger, he failed to recognize the profound spiritual and cultural significance of the birthright he so casually traded away. His readiness to exchange his sacred birthright for mere sustenance underscored a lack of foresight and an apparent disregard for the enduring spiritual heritage entrusted to him. Jacob, by contrast, demonstrated a keen sense of calculation and a willingness to seize opportunities, even in morally ambiguous circumstances. He fully understood the immense worth of the birthright and did not hesitate to exploit his brother's vulnerability in order to secure it for himself. Though ethically dubious, Jacob's actions revealed his profound grasp of the spiritual weight of the birthright and his relentless resolve to claim the destiny he believed was meant to be his. The days after the incident were filled with an unspoken tension between the two brothers as the implications of their exchange began to sink in. Esau, having regained his strength, appeared indifferent to the pact he had made, going about his life as though nothing of significance had occurred. He resumed his routine as a skilled hunter, embarking on his expeditions with no apparent recollection of the monumental agreement he had entered into. Jacob, in contrast, quietly held on to the knowledge of his newfound position, patiently awaiting the opportune moment to fully assert the rights he now believed were rightfully his. Word of the transaction soon reached the ears of the family, sparking reactions that revealed their own perceptions and biases. Rebecca, ever observant and attuned to the dynamics of her sons, received the news of their agreement with a mixture of astonishment and, perhaps, a subtle sense of approval. She had long regarded Jacob as the son best suited to uphold and continue the sacred legacy of their family. Isaac, whose deteriorating vision left him unaware of many unfolding details, remained oblivious to the shifts in the relationship between his two sons and the momentous pact they had forged. This incident prompts deep reflection on the values we assign to the aspects of our lives and the priorities that guide our decisions. What are the things we truly hold dear, and how do we measure their importance in the grand scheme of our lives? How readily do we abandon our heritage, be it material, cultural, or spiritual, when faced with the lure of temporary relief or instant gratification? The narrative of Esau and Jacob compels us to examine our own decisions and the priorities that shape the direction of our lives. Additionally, this episode highlights the profound truth that decisions, no matter how small they may seem at the time, can lead to consequences that reverberate far into the future. Esau's rash decision impacted not only his own life, but also changed the trajectory of history for his descendants and the people who would come after him. Often the gravity of our actions escapes us in the moment, and it is only with the passage of time that we come to understand the magnitude and lasting effects of the choices we make. The story of the birthright sale also raises compelling questions about the interplay between destiny and free will in shaping our lives. The prophecy God revealed to Rebecca before the twins were born, that the older would serve the younger, appeared to be unfolding exactly as foretold. Yet it remains a mystery to what degree Esau and Jacob's actions were shaped by divine predestination and to what extent they stem from their own conscious decisions. Over time, the significance of this pivotal agreement started to reveal itself in gradual and subtle transformations within the family dynamics. As the possessor of the birthright, Jacob began to exhibit a newfound confidence, stepping into his role with a greater sense of purpose and assurance. Jacob became increasingly involved in family affairs, steadily preparing himself for the responsibilities and authority he now believed were his by divine and rightful claim. Meanwhile, Esau carried on with his life much as he always had, displaying little to no regret or remorse for the pivotal bargain he had struck. Nevertheless, the seeds of discord had been firmly planted, foreshadowing a deeper and more intense struggle yet to come. The undercurrent of tension that had long existed between the brothers began to grow steadily, quietly intensifying as time went on. It was inevitable that this tension would one day erupt into open conflict, unleashing consequences far beyond what either brother could have anticipated. The tale of Esau and Jacob, especially the dramatic episode of the birthright sale, remains a source of fascination and deep study for readers and scholars across generations. This narrative, while rooted in its historical context, transcends its time to deliver enduring lessons on family dynamics, the impact of our choices, and the intricate balance between divine destiny and human free will. As the golden sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over Isaac's encampment, no one could foresee the profound and far-reaching consequences of the events that had just unfolded. The groundwork was laid for even more dramatic developments that would not only determine the fates of Esau and Jacob, but also influence the destinies of nations and peoples yet unborn. These boys' journey was far from ended, and the chapters that followed were sure to be much more dramatic and important. Many years had gone by since the momentous day when Esau, driven by hunger, traded his birthright for a simple bowl of lentils. On the surface, life within Isaac's household appeared to continue as usual. Yet beneath this facade, unseen forces were shaping the course of events, preparing the family for a moment of monumental significance. Isaac, the aging patriarch, had grown frail with the passage of time, his strength fading as the years weighed heavily upon him. His once keen and perceptive eyes had succumbed to the infirmities of age, rendering him almost completely blind. Aware of his advancing years and sensing the nearness of the end of his life, Isaac recognized that it was time to bestow the patriarchal blessing, a profoundly sacred and culturally significant rite. One still and unassuming afternoon, Isaac summoned Esau, his eldest and most beloved son, to his side. Though weakened by age, Isaac's voice retained an unmistakable tone of authority, reflecting the respect and reverence he commanded as the head of the household. "My son," he said, "I am old and do not know the day of my death. Now take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt something for me. Prepare a tasty meal the way I like it, and bring it to me to eat so that I may bless you before I die." Esau, eager to honor his father's request and secure his blessing, wasted no time in setting off on the task entrusted to him. No sooner had the sound of Esau's retreating footsteps faded than another figure appeared from the quiet recesses of the tent. It was Rebekah, Isaac's devoted wife and the ever-watchful mother of Esau and Jacob. Having listened intently to the entire exchange between Isaac and Esau, Rebekah's heart quickened, driven by a sense of urgency and purpose. Acting swiftly and decisively, Rebekah sought out Jacob, the son she had always favored and nurtured. "Listen," she whispered hurriedly. "I heard your father tell Esau to bring him game and prepare a tasty meal so that he may bless him in the presence of the Lord before he dies. Now, my son, listen to me carefully and do what I say. Go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats. I will prepare a tasty meal for your father, just the way he likes it. Then you will take it to your father to eat so that he may bless you before his death." Jacob, ever perceptive and cautious, instantly grasped the potential dangers inherent in his mother's audacious scheme. "But my mother," he argued, "my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? He will realize that I'm trying to deceive him and will curse me instead of blessing me." Rebekah, resolute in her conviction and unwavering in her plan, responded with firmness, "My son, let the curse fall on me. Just obey me and go get the goats for me." And so, an intricate and daring ruse was set into motion. Rebekah, working with precision and remarkable speed, prepared the dish exactly to Isaac's taste, ensuring no detail was overlooked. She then retrieved Esau's finest garments and dressed Jacob in them, wrapping him in the familiar scent of his older brother. To finalize the deception, she carefully covered Jacob's hands and the smooth part of his neck with the soft skins of the goats, skillfully replicating the coarse texture of Esau's hairy skin. With his heart pounding and his hands trembling slightly, Jacob stepped into his father's dimly lit tent, bearing the meal Rebekah had meticulously prepared. "My father," Jacob called out, making a deliberate effort to mimic Esau's distinct tone and manner of speech. Startled by the unexpectedly swift return, Isaac inquired curiously, "Who are you, my son?" Jacob answered, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you asked. Please sit up and eat of my game so that you may bless me." Still wary and uncertain, Isaac asked his son to come closer, intending to touch him for confirmation. His aged and trembling fingers moved over Jacob's arms, encountering the rough, hairy texture of the goatskins. "The voice is Jacob's," he murmured, "but the hands are Esau's." Though confused and still harboring doubt, Isaac questioned him once again for clarity. "Are you truly my son, Esau?" he asked pointedly. "I am," Jacob replied, maintaining the lie even as his heart pounded so loudly he worried Isaac might hear its rapid rhythm. At last, whether persuaded or simply exhausted from doubting, Isaac requested the meal to be brought to him. He consumed the food and drank the wine Jacob had brought, seemingly satisfied with the offering. He then asked his son to come closer and kissed him, a gesture filled with paternal warmth. As he smelled the scent of Esau's clothes, Isaac's last doubts dissipated. With a solemn voice, the patriarch began to pronounce the blessing. "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth, plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." These words, imbued with profound authority and divine promise, reverberated throughout the quiet space of the tent. Jacob, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment and burdened by the guilt of his deceit, could scarcely comprehend that his audacious plan had worked. The blessing, intended for Esau, now belonged to Jacob, irrevocably sealing his claim. Jacob had scarcely left Isaac's tent when Esau arrived from the hunt, his quiver still slung over his shoulder and a triumphant expression on his face. Elated by his successful hunt and eager to claim the awaited blessing, Esau diligently prepared the savory dish and brought it to his father. "My father," called Esau, entering the tent, "sit up and eat from my hunt so that you may bless me." Isaac, confused and alarmed, asked, "Who are you?" "I am your son," Esau replied, "your firstborn, Esau." In that instant, the full weight of the deception dawned upon Isaac, and his body trembled violently in disbelief. Overcome by shock and anger, Isaac's frail form shook uncontrollably as he grasped the magnitude of the betrayal. "Who then," he asked, "haunted the game and brought it to me? I ate it all before you arrived and blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." Hearing these devastating words, Esau's voice erupted in a bitter cry of anguish, a sound filled with heartbreak and rage. "Bless me also, my father," he pleaded. With profound sorrow in his voice, Isaac replied, "Your brother has come deceitfully and taken the blessing that was meant for you." Esau's fury and grief surged uncontrollably, spilling over in a torrent of rage and despair. "No wonder they call him Jacob," he exclaimed. "He has deceived me twice. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my blessing." Turning to his father, his eyes filled with desperation, Esau pleaded, "Have you not reserved even a single blessing for me? Have you not reserved even a single blessing for me?" Isaac's response, heavy with regret and finality, must have pierced Esau's heart. "I have made him lord over you, and have given him all your relatives as servants, and I have supplied him with grain and new wine. What can I do for you now, my son?" Refusing to accept defeat, Esau pressed on with his appeal. He pleaded further, "Is there not a blessing left? My father blessed me also." Overcome with anguish, Esau broke down, weeping bitterly before his father. Deeply moved by Esau's heartfelt cries, Isaac finally bestowed a blessing upon him. However, the words he spoke were somber, more akin to a curse than the blessing Esau had hoped for. "Your dwelling will be far from the richness of the earth, far from the dew of the heavens above. You will live by the sword and serve your brother, but when you grow restless, you will break his yoke from your neck." The solemn and weighty words spoken by Isaac reverberated through the quiet tent, finalizing the destinies of his two sons and shaping the futures of the nations that would spring from their lineages. Through his cunning and calculated deception, Jacob had accomplished his objective and secured the coveted blessing. He now stood as the rightful recipient of the sacred patriarchal blessing, a role of immense spiritual and cultural significance. Yet the price of this act of deception would prove far greater than Jacob could have foreseen, setting into motion a chain of consequences that would deeply affect his life. In that instant, Esau's heart became consumed by an intense and burning hatred for his brother Jacob. "My father will die soon," he thought, "and then I will kill my brother Jacob." Upon discovering Esau's plans for vengeance, Rebekah acted with her usual decisiveness, determined to shield Jacob from harm at any cost. She summoned Jacob and urged him to leave immediately, instructing him to seek refuge with her brother Laban in the distant land of Haran. "Stay with him for a while," she said, "until your brother's fury passes. And so Jacob left, abandoning his family, the land of his birth, and the turbulent aftermath of his actions. Though he had secured the blessing he longed for, the personal and relational cost was immense, leaving him exiled and alone. His path would lead him to foreign lands, where he would encounter trials and hardships that would profoundly shape his faith, resilience, and character. Back in Canaan, Esau's bitterness and resentment festered, fueling his resolve to reclaim the inheritance and blessing he considered to be his rightful due. The rift between the brothers, which had once been a mere crack, had widened into an immense and seemingly unbridgeable chasm. This tale of deception, betrayal, and its far-reaching consequences invites us to contemplate the weight and morality of our own actions and decisions. How frequently do we let short-term desires cloud our judgment, leading us to make choices with unforeseen and lasting repercussions? To what extent are we prepared to sacrifice our principles or compromise our integrity in pursuit of our ambitions? The lives of Esau and Jacob, once so closely connected as twin brothers, were now heading in vastly different and divergent directions. As Jacob sought refuge in distant lands, Esau stayed in Canaan, where the twists and turns of his life would not only redefine his own fate, but also shape the future of a nation descended from him. Esau, the rugged man of the wilderness and an accomplished hunter, now stood at a critical juncture in his life. The devastating loss of his father's blessing and the deep fracture in his relationship with Jacob created a profound emptiness in Esau's life, one that he would strive to fill through different means over the years. When Esau reached the age of 40, a pivotal milestone in the traditions of his people, he made a life choice that brought deep disappointment to his parents, Isaac and Rebekah. Esau took as his wives two Hittite women, Judith, the daughter of Beeri, and Basmath, the daughter of Elon. This decision was met with disapproval from his family, as the Hittites were a foreign people whose customs and beliefs stood in stark contrast to the sacred Abrahamic traditions cherished by Isaac and Rebekah. The Bible explicitly states that these marriages brought great grief and bitterness to Isaac and Rebekah, as recorded in Genesis chapter 26, verse 35. This brief biblical remark hints at the profound sorrow and tension that rippled through the family as a result of Esau's choices. To Isaac and Rebekah, Esau's marriages signified more than mere alliances with outsiders. They represented a departure from the divine covenant and the promises entrusted to their lineage. These unions marked a deviation from the sacred covenant given to Abraham, diluting the purity of the lineage chosen to bear the divine blessing forward. One can only imagine the growing tensions and strained conversations within Isaac's tent as the repercussions of Esau's actions began to unfold. Rebekah, who had long shown favoritism toward Jacob, likely viewed Esau's choice of wives as further evidence that Jacob, not Esau, was better suited to inherit the family's sacred legacy. Isaac, for his part, was likely torn between his enduring love for Esau and his growing dismay over the decisions that seemed to stray from the path of their covenantal faith. Though Isaac's affection for Esau was clear, the elder son's choices contradicted the principles and values Isaac had dedicated his life to upholding. The Hittite wives of Esau introduced not only their foreign traditions and religious practices, but also a complex and disruptive dynamic to the family's once cohesive household. The patriarchal tent, which had long been a sanctuary of Abrahamic worship and tradition, now faced the intrusion of foreign customs and beliefs, challenging the family's spiritual focus. The inevitable cultural clash between these differing worldviews likely created ongoing friction and unease within the family. Whether oblivious to the full impact of his decisions or acting out of defiance and bitterness over the loss of his blessing, Esau appeared to consciously or unconsciously distance himself from the faith and traditions of his family. In either case, Esau's choices were not only carving out his personal future, but also defining the trajectory of his descendants for generations to come. As the years rolled by, life seemed to settle into its rhythm, even as undercurrents of change continued to shape the family's future. Esau eventually built his own household, distancing himself both physically and emotionally from the home of his parents. He maintained his reputation as a skilled hunter and rugged outdoorsman, his abilities gaining him respect and admiration among the neighboring communities. Over time, Esau's children were born and raised, absorbing both the traditions of their father's lineage and the customs of their Hittite mothers, blending two distinct cultures. One fateful day, Esau received startling news that would reopen old wounds and set the stage for a significant event. Word reached Esau that Jacob, his estranged brother who had been in exile for many years, was returning to the land of Canaan, and he was bringing with him wives, children, and considerable wealth. Jacob's return was not a humble one. He came with his family and an impressive array of possessions, signaling his success during his years away. This news likely stirred up painful memories and deep-seated resentment in Esau, rekindling feelings of betrayal and loss. The brother who had tricked him, taken his blessing, and driven a wedge between them was now coming back, not in humility, but in triumph and prosperity. At this pivotal juncture, Esau made a new and deliberate choice regarding his marital alliances, one that carried profound implications. Recognizing the deep dissatisfaction his Hittite wives had caused his parents, Esau resolved to take another wife, this time making a more calculated decision. This choice, however, was not impulsive. It was a purposeful and symbolic decision aimed at repairing his relationship with his family. Esau sought out Ishmael, his father's half-brother and Abraham's son, and took Mahalath, Ishmael's daughter and the sister of Nebaioth, as his wife. This marriage was far from coincidental. It was a deliberate effort to reconnect with the family's Abrahamic heritage. In marrying a woman from Ishmael's lineage, Esau sought to align himself more closely with the covenantal lineage of his grandfather Abraham, signaling a desire to reclaim his place in the family. Through this union, Esau seemed to assert, "I am also a part of this chosen lineage. I too carry the blood of Abraham." Esau's decision to take a third wife provides deep insight into his character, revealing the internal conflict and longing that drove his choices. Though his earlier actions had alienated him from the family's faith and traditions, this move indicated that a part of him still sought validation, belonging, and reconciliation. By marrying Mahalath, Esau may have been attempting to mend his fractured relationship with Isaac and Rebekah, while simultaneously reaffirming his connection to Abraham's covenant. Yet despite this effort, Esau's fate had already been set in motion, with his choices and circumstances steering him toward a divergent path. His earlier decisions, coupled with the blessing that Jacob now held, charted a course for Esau and his descendants that would take them away from the land promised to Abraham's lineage. Over the years, Esau and his growing family relocated to the mountainous region of Seir, situated to the south of Canaan, a rugged land that would become their new home. This relocation represented more than just a change in location. It symbolized a turning point in Esau's journey, marking a departure from the Abrahamic lineage's central promise. In choosing to settle in Seir, Esau effectively distanced himself from the covenantal lineage, laying the foundation for the rise of a distinct and independent nation. Despite this separation, Esau thrived in Seir, his wealth and influence growing steadily over time. His descendants multiplied rapidly, becoming a strong and formidable people in their own right. This growing lineage became the Edomites, a nation whose interactions with Israel would prove pivotal throughout biblical history, ranging from alliances to conflicts. The Bible in Genesis chapter 36 provides a comprehensive genealogy of Esau's descendants, illustrating the scope and prominence of his lineage and its leaders. Within Esau's line emerged influential tribal chiefs, mighty kings, and prominent leaders who shaped the trajectory of the Edomite nation. The territory known as Edom was firmly established by Esau's descendants, flourishing into a prosperous and often formidable nation in the region. It is intriguing to observe how the words of Isaac's blessing upon Esau came to fruition over time, despite its seemingly unfavorable tone. Reflect on Isaac's words. "Your dwelling will be far from the earth's richness and distant from the dew of the heavens above. You will live by the sword and serve your brother, but when you become restless, you will break his yoke from your neck." In the harsh, mountainous terrain of Seir, the Edomites experienced a life removed from the fertile lands of Canaan, fulfilling Isaac's prophetic declaration. The Edomites became a resilient, warrior nation, living by the sword. While they occasionally fell under Israel's dominion, they were known to rebel fiercely, casting off Israel's control in defiance. The narrative surrounding Esau's marriages and his descendants provides rich insights and valuable lessons for reflection. First, it becomes evident that our decisions, particularly those involving marriage and family, can have profound and far-reaching consequences, shaping the destinies of both our immediate lives and the generations that follow. The story also underscores the inherent complexity of familial bonds and the tensions they can generate. Esau's initial marital decisions, which deeply grieved his parents, and his later attempt to amend the situation through a strategic third marriage, highlight the friction that occurs when personal decisions conflict with family expectations. Esau's journey also reveals the centrality of identity and belonging in the human experience, as he wrestled with his place within his family and his heritage. His choice of wives reflects an inner conflict between his desire to assert independence and his yearning to remain connected to his ancestral roots. The establishment of the Edomite nation from Esau's lineage serves as a potent reminder of how the choices of one individual can resonate far beyond their personal life, influencing entire nations and even global dynamics. A sibling rivalry that began in the tents of Isaac evolved into centuries of intricate and tumultuous interactions between the nations of Israel and Edom. Finally, Esau's story, along with the legacy of his descendants, prompts a reflection on the profound themes of blessing and curse. Although Esau was denied the primary blessing intended for the firstborn, he nonetheless achieved prosperity and became the patriarch of a mighty and influential nation. This invites us to ponder the true nature of a blessing. Is it merely a spoken promise, or does its fulfillment depend on how one navigates life's challenges? Can we discover purpose and build a meaningful legacy even when life diverges drastically from our expectations? As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Esau's legacy extends well beyond his personal life, leaving a lasting impact on history. His lineage, the Edomites, would go on to play a pivotal role in Israel's story, at times as adversaries and at other moments as unlikely allies. The histories of Edom and Israel remain deeply interwoven, mirroring the complicated and often fraught relationship between Esau and Jacob, the twin brothers from whom these nations sprang. Esau's transformation, from cherished firstborn to patriarch of a separate nation, stands as a tale of pivotal choices, their far-reaching consequences, and the potential for redemption amidst life's trials. By way of his marital alliances and the rise of his descendants, Esau forged a path distinct from the one seemingly laid out for him, yet equally significant in its historical and spiritual implications. His journey serves as a testament that even amidst life's disappointments and unexpected detours, it is possible to create a legacy of enduring importance. As the years rolled on, Esau and Jacob lived vastly different lives, their paths having diverged in ways neither could have foreseen. Esau had established himself in the rugged terrain of Seir, creating a prosperous life with his family, while Jacob endured 2 decades of exile in Haran, laboring under the demanding watch of his uncle Laban. The long-awaited moment of their reunion was drawing near, carrying with it a heavy mix of apprehension, unresolved emotions, and the potential for reconciliation. Jacob, journeying back to Canaan accompanied by his wives, children, and considerable wealth, sent emissaries ahead to announce his return to Esau. The messengers brought back word that Esau was approaching with 400 men, and Jacob's heart was gripped with fear, imagining the worst. The memory of Esau's long-ago vow to take revenge resurfaced in Jacob's mind, intensifying his dread of their impending encounter. The night before the fateful meeting, after splitting his camp and sending ahead gifts to pacify Esau, Jacob experienced a transformative encounter. He wrestled with an angel until daybreak. From this intense struggle, Jacob emerged with a new name, Israel, symbolizing his spiritual transformation and newfound understanding of his divine purpose. At last, the moment of reckoning arrived, as Jacob and Esau prepared to meet for the first time in decades. Jacob, spotting Esau advancing with his men, braced for a hostile encounter and humbled himself by bowing to the ground 7 times as a gesture of submission and respect. To Jacob's astonishment and immense relief, Esau ran to him with open arms, embracing him warmly, kissing him, and together they wept in an outpouring of emotion. This act of reconciliation between the estranged brothers stands as one of the most poignant and redemptive moments in the entire biblical narrative. Esau, who once harbored murderous intentions toward Jacob, now welcomed his brother with genuine warmth and forgiveness. The passage of time and years of separation appeared to have quelled Esau's anger, enabling the bond of brotherhood to triumph over past grievances. When Esau inquired about the many gifts Jacob had sent ahead, Jacob humbly responded, "To find favor in your eyes, my lord." In a surprising display of generosity, Esau replied, "I have plenty, my brother. Keep what belongs to you." This interaction reveals profound changes in both men, reflecting their growth and transformation over the years. Jacob, who had once relied on deception to gain the upper hand, now approached his brother with humility and a desire for reconciliation. Esau, who had once shown disregard for the sacred birthright by trading it for a mere bowl of stew, now displayed a level of maturity, contentment, and generosity that exceeded Jacob's expectations. Although their reunion was marked by heartfelt reconciliation, the brothers chose not to return to a shared life, while Jacob continued on to settle in the land of Canaan. The physical distance between their settlements symbolized the divergent trajectories their lives, and the nations that would emerge from them were destined to follow. Esau's influence extended well beyond his personal story, leaving a lasting imprint on the world through his descendants. The Edomites, the nation descended from Esau, rose to prominence, becoming a significant and formidable force in the ancient world. The land of Edom, known for its mineral wealth and strategic position along key trade routes, flourished and remained prosperous for generations. Despite their shared ancestry, the relationship between Edom and Israel, the nations born of Esau and Jacob, was frequently characterized by strife and hostility. At times, Edom fell under Israelite control, fulfilling portions of Isaac's prophecy that Esau's descendants would serve Jacob's lineage. Yet there were also periods when Edom successfully rebelled, breaking free from Israel's domination, as foretold in Isaac's blessing. A particularly fascinating element of Esau's story lies in how he is remembered and interpreted within Jewish and Christian traditions. While Jacob is venerated as the patriarch of Israel and the progenitor of the 12 tribes, Esau is frequently cast in a negative light, serving as a cautionary example of someone who undervalued his birthright. Yet a more nuanced reading of Scripture reveals a multifaceted Esau, whose story defies simple categorization. Though depicted as impulsive and occasionally reckless, Esau is also shown to possess qualities of profound forgiveness, compassion, and generosity. Esau's act of reconciliation with Jacob underscores a nobility of spirit and character that is often overshadowed in traditional interpretations. Esau's legacy invites contemplation on timeless themes: the significance of our material and spiritual inheritances, the intricate dynamics of family bonds, the potential for healing even after profound wounds, and the enduring impact of our choices on future generations. Esau's story serves as a poignant reminder that historical narratives are frequently shaped by those in positions of prominence or victory. Although the Bible centers on Jacob and his descendants, the references to Edom's success and influence highlight that Esau's journey, while separate, was equally impactful in its own way. In the end, Esau's legacy stands as a testament to the multifaceted nature of the human experience, encompassing triumphs, failures, and redemption. His life illustrates that we are not solely defined by any one decision or moment, but by the cumulative impact of our choices and the relationships we nurture throughout our journey. The moment of reconciliation between Esau and Jacob is a profound example of how even the most entrenched family conflicts can be resolved through forgiveness and humility. As such, Esau's narrative echoes across the ages, compelling us to reflect on the decisions we make, the bonds we forge, and the legacies we strive to leave behind for those who come after us.